Shalom from Israel. Judaism is a very monotheistic religion, and yet our word for God, Elohim, is grammatically in the plural. The verb that modifies it is usually in the singular. So, for example, we see Vaya Elohim et ha'or, and God saw the light. It's singular. Vayoma Elohim yehi or, and God said, let there be light. Here, Vayoma, the verb, is in the singular. So how does one explain the grammatical plural for Elohim? I've heard some overzealous Christian apologists say, well, that's because God is a Trinity, and they cite this as evidence for that. Now, of course, this Trinity is not in the Hebrew Bible or anything. But what I want to show you is that not only did our rabbis for centuries been telling us it's a plural of majesty, but I found something in the Amarna letters from an ancient Canaanite to actually make their point for them. Now, a plural of majesty means because of the reverence for God, he's referred to, the noun word for God is in the plural. Ibn Ezra, Radak, all of our old rabbis said this. Now, first I'm going to give you the answer, and then I'll go for the proof for this, and I'll show you from Amarna letters in ancient Canaan. So if you just want to get the bottom line is in ancient letters from Canaan in 14th century, we see that Canaanite scribes regularly refer to a deity in the plural. And so if you only want the bottom line, that's it. Now, if you want to watch the proof, I'll show you that right now. Now, first, what do I mean when I talk about the Amarna letters? Well, here's a map this is the map of the Levant, which is the land of Canaan here, and the land of Israel, and this is the Sinai Desert, this is Egypt, and here is Tel El-Amarna that sits on the bank of the Nile. Okay, in the 1880s, an Egyptian farmer was plowing his field, and his spade hit something, some kind of rocks, and he pulled it up, and there were tablets like this. We know them as fire-hardened clay tablets. Here's a replica of an El-Amarna tablet that mentions the name of Jerusalem in it. But at any rate, and long story short, it was discovered that these were from 1400, 1350 BCE, and wow, which is pretty interesting. It's in the neighborhood of the time of Moshe and when the Torah was given and so on, the general time frame. And they were written in Akkadian. And here's an example from Schroeder's text published in 1915, I believe. And here's an example of a text from Zatatna from Akko that I recently read. And this is what the cuneiform looks like. And it's, you have these wedge-shaped marks made with a stylus into clay that can then later be fire hardened and preserved for thousands of years, I should point out, much longer than I think anything we produce today would last. But at any rate, let's take a look at what I'm talking about here for an example of the plural of majesty. So if you look on, let's go right here, starting with line 4. And now this is the OAK site from the University of Pennsylvania. You can go to their website and get this. It's a fantastic thing. When, I was coming up and learning Akkadian back in the 1990s. I had Knudsen to rely on, which is very good, but you have to use a dictionary and all that. But here, look, you just put your cursor over the word and it tells us what it is. The dingir is the sign for deity, and mesh means plural, and this is read as ilanu because of the new suffix that was put there. If you don't understand what all of this means, by the way, I'll tell you what it means. It means that you need to study Akkadian with me. All go to our website at Institute for Torah and Semitic Languages. Go to our website, and we'll be offering Akkadian soon. But at any rate, so here we go. So I'll read it in Akkadian first. Ilanu shulum ka shulum bitika lishal. All right. Which is, and in fact, here he gives you a translation right over here on this side. But it's literally, it's may the God seek your welfare and the welfare of your house. By the way, shulum ka here, shulum shows Canaanite shift. Shalom, for example, for peace, versus Aramaic shalom or Arabic salam, which don't show the Canaanite shift. But we already see it here in the Tel El-Amarna tablets. But at any rate, he's referring to the God, and the verb is in the singular, but the new form means this is being read as ilanu, which is the dual that's used as a plural in Amarna Canaanite. And so, very fascinating. And here is another example of this. Well, actually, let's go to this one, 237. Here, wait a minute now. What one did I? Yeah, 281 is the one that I wanted. Sorry, a little scatterbrained. But, okay, Ano Lugal. Okay, now Lugal, they're not going to read it as Lugal, but that's the Sumerogram for Sumerian word for king, but they're going to read it as Shadri. Ana Shadri, which is king, cognate with Hebrew Sa, by the way. En, which is Sumerogram for Belu, so Belia. Ana Shadri Belia to the king, my lord. And then look at this, Dingil Mesh, which is the plural marker for Ilanuya. So, to the king, my lord, my God. And then he goes on with, I fall down 7 times forward and 7 times backwards and so on. Basins to the king and so on. It's written to the Pharaoh of Egypt from the king of Gath, the Canaanite city-states at the time. You had the land of Canaan, you had different kings, the king of Gath, the king of Akko, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Gezer, and so on. This is the king of Gath writing to the Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he refers to him as my Lord and my God. The word for God here uses the plural, Ilanuya, which is very interesting. How does one explain this? It's the plural of majesty, and which you can find a little more about this in Anson Rainey's Canaanite in the Amarna tablets, volume 1, pages 147, 148. He gives some other examples in here. But bottom line is, this is very significant for our research and in seeing it, what does the Bible mean to the original culture that produced it? And we see that the plural of majesty was alive and well in ancient Canaan. And in fact, in Paul Jouan's Grammaire de l'Hébreu biblique, which is a classic work, 1923, edition. And in here on page 416, paragraph 136, D, footnote 2, he cites Euting in his Reise in Arabien, which was at the end of the 1800s. The work was published. Talks about a curious example. I'm translating from the French as I speak. The footnote is written in French. Mentions a curious example of the plural of majesty in a modern Arabic dialect. Sheikh of Hayel was called Ashuyuch. Sheikh is a singular for sheikh, right? But shuyuch is the plural. But everybody there would refer to him as shuyuch, using the broken plural in Arabic. So at any rate, there we go. I wanted to point that out. Rather than reading our own cultures or religions or backgrounds or anything into the text, I want us to go to the original cultures that produced this. And by the way, Jewish tradition already understood this quite well, as reflected in our rabbis. Thank you, and may Hashem richly bless your study of the Torah.